Man, time rolls by fast. I mean, just last year we had to deal with a new election, a global pandemic, and constant writing from the streets. But now it's all over. The year's come to a close, and now it's time to welcome the new year of 2021. Huh? 2022? No, that won't be for a while. It's happening. It's March? You're not real, but instead a sound effect added post-production in an attempt to save me from sounding like I'm insane? That's right, folks. 2021 has ended. A year filled with resounding from the world. It's the Jurassic Park Lost World of years. With 2020 being the slam dunk, what other apocalyptic event / new revelation will happen next? To 2021's kind of the same thing, but on a smaller scale. Well, while we all hide from COVID-19 Super Turbo Championship Edition, I'd like to explain to you all the best game that I played in 2021. Keep in mind that doesn't mean that it hadn't have been released in 2021, just that I played it in that year. If you want my favorite game released in 2021, crab game. It wins because the competition is 3 free dating sims. Allow me to break the news to you. No, this video will not have spoilers. Not only because I don't want to study the plot and make an 8-hour video on every detail to the point of where it's almost pointless to even play the game to begin with. No shade towards Pyro. But also because the story and characters of this game are downright amazing and a must-have for all of those who love action JRPGs. If you don't know, The Last Story is one of the 3 games part of the Operation Rainfall trio, aka one of the last pieces of evidence that Nintendo might listen to their fans. A trio of JRPGs released in Japan that were planned to be exclusive there. This changed when fans got together and demanded that they be released to the West. After hearing the public outcry, Nintendo had a light bulb go off and they translated all 3 titles. Which, can you blame the fans on this one? What other RPGs did the Wii have? BattleRevolution? That game had a fantastic coaster. Or maybe Radiant Dawn, the game where you spent more time on the game over screen than strategizing due to a translation error. Nintendo releases the trio of games which are met with critical acclaim. One of them, you may have heard it, Xenoblade Chronicles, goes on to be the behemoth we know today. The other 2, on the other hand, are rarely talked about. Let's be real, if it weren't for the fact that these 2 are loosely attached to the Xenoblade name, they would have sold a hell of a lot less. With all that said, I still like the original Xenoblade more than The Last Story, but I refuse to let this game be buried underneath the weight of its more successful stepbrother. So in this video, I would like to list off the qualities in this hidden gem to get its name out there. For a quick synopsis of the story, you control Zale, a member of a group of ragtag mercenaries. He begins the game by clearing a cave of reptids. Alongside Zale, your party consists of Yurik, a mage who constantly complains about everything, Seren, a loud, excitable woman who has, fondness for alcohol, let's call it.
A fucking VB long neck at 20 to 8 in the fucking morning.
And Dagran, your childhood friend and loyal comrade throughout the entire game. Later on, you'll meet up with 2 other mercenaries who didn't come along. Maranya, a woman who's soft-spoken, has a mysterious connection in nature, and with that description alone, I'm sure you've already guessed that she's the healer. And Lowell, an honorary flirt who serves as a part mage, part fighter. If you're put off by the JRPG pervert stereotype, trust me when I say it's impossible not to love Lowell. Exploring deeper in the cave with your 3 companions, you hit a dead end. Dagran and Yurik search for an alternate route, while you and Seren stay behind. Trouble starts when, while resting, the skeletons in the same room as you come to life and start attacking you and Seren. To make a long story short, there's a door with some divine force who assists Zale by giving him the Outsider's power. After a tutorial boss, he escapes the dungeon with his friends close behind him. Time passes by and Zale meets up with a young mysterious woman named Lisa, and goes on a journey for the king to help figure out what the Outsider's power really entails. From there, I won't go much deeper. As I said, I insist you play it for yourself. The twists and turns throughout the game had me on the edge of my seat, and no doubt anyone playing blind will be taken aback by some of the major revelations. My favorite parts include Chapter 29, the boss fight against Jaral, mostly due to how satisfying it is to finally shut him up, and of course the final boss, along with its kick-ass theme. Which, I think it's a daring move to stick random screeching and groaning in a final boss theme, but I suppose it's a testament to the composer's talent. In a JRPG, characters serve as one of the most important roles in the game. Not only because they tend to be plot-heavy, but also because, unlike most genres, JRPGs will span a grand total of 30 to 100 hours. With all that said, it's impressive how astoundingly they fleshed out the cast in a game that's relatively short compared to its brethren in the genre. Of course, there's Zale. Now I will say that compared to the rest of the cast, Zale may seem a bit uninteresting. He seems like your average curious and morally good JRPG protagonist. Throughout the game, his shift in perspective, culminating in the finale of his character arc, was never jarring to me. He has a high attack and defense, with the sacrifice of magic. A key gameplay mechanic is the move Gale, which comes in a whole lot of use if you have magic users on your team. Dagran, oh Dagran. I can't spoil the game, so I can't really delve into his character arc. Let's just say some messed up stuff happens to him, and he becomes one of my favorite characters because of it. Before shit hits the fan, though, he plays as a leader and somewhat patriarchal figure to Zale. The two of them unite as kids, with the goal of being knights being the original spark that creates the mercenary group we have now. In battle, he functions as a tank for the party, being high in both HP and attack. Lisa is Zale's love interest and a vital character throughout the story. I'm not gonna lie though, she's probably the least memorable of the main party for me. Like, she's a princess, right? Name common traits of a princess off the top of your head. Gentle, kind, pure. This criticism is a bit harsh. She's by no means a terrible character. For example, I love the fact that she detests royalty and the corruption behind it. In fact, royalty fuels her with such a rage that she attempts throughout the game to convince Zale that his dreams aren't worth fighting for, and it would be better for him in the long run to just get away from it all. In battle, she works as a status mage, with her spell Holy being your best friend in most boss fights. Yorick starts the game as a whiny nag who rarely relents from his role as the team's sad sack. Don't be alarmed though, this attitude of his quickly fades away and will open up to the rest of the party. Once he does, his soft demeanor and quick wit will be sure to grow on you. As for in battle, he's a mage that focuses primarily on attacking. He uses fire magic. Matched with the fact that he is the highest magic stat in the game, this makes him a force to be reckoned with. But be wary. As mages tend to be, he has the lowest defense in the game, so his playstyle is best described as a glass cannon. Miranya is a quiet, well-spoken girl who shares a mysterious history with nature. Although for most of the game she'll appear sheepish, there are moments where her emotion shines through. Her wisdom, mixed in with her other attributes, blossoms into a character with oodles of charm. As I stated earlier, she uses her forest magic to help heal her allies. She does this job well with her skill Recover, and her ability to silence your foes will also prove quite useful. But as you probably expect with a girl of her stature, though she can cast a spell easy, her skill with a sword is comparable to a blue jay, or perhaps even a ladybug. Seren is the polar opposite of Miranya. She's a loud, opinionated, attention-grabbing drunkard who tends to play a part in the party's moments of comic relief. Now, a character like her or Lowell, if given to a group of bad writers, could have ended up disastrous. Luckily, Seren's personality ends up becoming endearing not only to the player, but to the people around her. It'd be real nice if she could survive a boss fight for more than 15 seconds though. Her HP and attack are high, but due to her lacking any spells, make sure you pay attention to her health. She tends to charge towards her opponents, so if the fight gets overwhelming and her life bar is depleting fast, she's likely to go down faster than a paper swan fighting the Human Torch. At last, we reach Lowell, the coquettish cryomancer. Once again, put in the wrong hands, Lowell could have easily come off as the team pervert. Luckily, the Lowell we got is far from a thick-headed flirt. He serves as a confident and eternally loyal individual, sticking with the party through thick and thin, no matter the situation. As part of the illiterate alias I bestowed upon him earlier, Lowell mostly deals with ice magic. His skill, mixed with Zale's Gale, will give your enemies the slip status ailment, where all enemies in the nearby vicinity will cartoonishly fall over, giving you some extra time to cut them up. Stat-wise, he's a jack of all trades. His attack, magic, and defense are all three okay, but not exactly spectacular. His agility, on the other hand, is the lowest amongst the party. Now, this is just from the main party alone. As much as I could go on about some of the outside characters, I'll spare you the boredom and make you experience it for yourself. If I were to criticize any of the characters, it'd have to be the villains. While I'm not of the mindset that a great villain needs to be sympathetic, I do appreciate when villains have nuance, and don't look like obvious villains. Characters like Jaral and the others you'll meet illustrate Lisa's point beautifully, but I still kind of wish that there was something that helped discern them from the mustache-twirling scoundrels who eat puppies and tie women to train tracks. Now, of course, keep in mind this isn't all of them. A couple, both spoilers so I can't tell you, have a more detailed reason for their dastardly actions, but as it stands, the cast of villains suffice as is. Surprise, surprise, a video game should have gameplay, something David Cage fails to understand even today. So, does The Last Story play well? Well, yeah, that should be assumed if it's the best game I've played in 2021. Unless its competition includes the likes of Superman 64 and Sonic 2006, The Last Story is an action JRPG. Fancy talk for a lot of words, a lot of numbers, but I know you don't really care about that. Because Zale holds a crossbow with unlimited ammo, there's a good chunk of interesting puzzles you solve. Outside of your main quest, there are also side quests you can complete as well, but these are standard fare for JRPGs. Allow me to shift your focus to what makes this game very different, the combat. This game offers a couple of interesting twists on the standard formula. Firstly, you know how most JRPGs offer like 8 different party members, but you can only bring like 3 or 4 out at a time? Like Persona 4 for example, the entire investigation team will brag about how much they help each other, as a level 16 Chie sits next to a level 54 Yukiko. The Last Story instead takes a different approach. Every character available to you will be out at the field on the same time. I love this mechanic, as not only does it provide a bit of realism, but also you never feel like a character is being left out. Other than that, the game has one main mechanic, the power of the outsider. As stated earlier, Zale opened a door, and after some important dialogue, he was blessed with the outsider's power. The outsider's power can be used in battle whenever the user wants and for as long as they want to use it. There's one main benefit. If activated next to a fallen ally, you can revive them and even bring them back up to full health. Due to the lack of items, the only other way to revive an ally is to use Miranya's spirit attack, and we'll touch more upon that later. With this amazing benefit, there's of course a drawback. The drawback is that once activated, every enemy on the field will direct their attention to you, so if you're fighting a large number of enemies, or maybe just a powerful boss, you might hesitate to activate the outsider's power. That is, unless you're up for 5 enemies to help your health disappear faster than an Australian Prime Minister. To prevent this power from becoming easily abused, your allies start with 5 lives in each fight. If a character's health drops to 0, all you need to do is activate the power near them. Once they run out of lives, Miranya's spirit attack, once again we'll tackle that later, is their only hope at fighting once more. And if Miranya is the one out of lives,
well, we're boned.
In an RPG, your move selection is always important. Meticulously deciding on which spells to strategize around and potentially expand upon, and trashing the spells that don't suit your gameplay style, can lead to some of the most rewarding moments in gaming. Well, don't expect to do a whole lot of that in this game. Every character in here only has about 3 moves at their disposal, so you, the player, are sort of forced to work around that. I brought up how each character has their own type of magic, but I also want to bring up that each magic user's spell will only have the range of a single circle on the ground. In order to spread the benefits of the spell to your other allies, or give a particular status effect to every enemy outside of the specific ring, Zale needs to aim his exclusive skill, Gale, toward the ring. Don't worry, since the game freezes time and gives you a bird's eye view when aiming Gale, the only way to miss it would be to do it intentionally. Finally, the last little mechanic would be the spirit attacks. The best thing to compare this mechanic to would be the limit breaks in Final Fantasy. These moves require a long charge-up period, but once manually activated, your ally will unleash a devastating/helpful move that will hopefully turn the tables in your favor. My favorite one ended up being Miranya's. Hers healed your entire party and even gave them an extra life. This even revives characters who at this point were permanently downed. Other character spirit attacks consist of Lisa, who will give Zale an impenetrable force field for a limited time, Seren, who gives the enemy a powerful slash, which will limit the enemy's mobility, and so on. The only mechanic I ended up hating was exemplified in Chapter 28. Why? Well, it's a stealth section, and a stealth section where you sneak past enemies you could easily defeat. The big reason I hate this section is that this game's engine was not built for stealth in such close quarters. Yes, there were stealth mechanics before this, but the difference there was that 1, your sneaking area was a lot bigger, and 2, punishment for failing those was just a tougher battle. In Chapter 28, the area to enemy ratio is grueling to get around, and the punishment for failure is automatic death. Plus, the guards apparently are blessed with super hearing abilities, as one single footstep in the wrong time may end up in you getting caught. There's a multitude of mechanics that I've not even touched yet, like the Xenoblade-esque chain attack. But to prevent this video from hitting the half-hour mark, I believe it's best if you discover some of these on your own. It's criminal how under the radar this game ended up being. I mean, as I pointed out, without Xenoblade, this game would have probably ended up being another Dot Hack or Shadow Hearts. Just another fantastic JRPG relegated to being sold for exorbitant prices because only 8 people bought the game. I don't want that to be the fate of this game. Any game so good that I go out of my way to not only buy the art book, but also the soundtrack, deserves at the very least to be ported to modern consoles. If you want to play the game without dealing with a price tag, I recommend Dolphin. Just don't tell Nintendo. I don't think they're too keen on that suggestion. Last year, I played some fantastic games. Persona 3 Portable, Soul Calibur 2, KFC Dating Sim, in easy second place. But this game that I played all the way up in February, over a year ago, has stuck with me ever since. If anything, I want this video not only to convince those looking for a new JRPG to play, but those new fans can demand more from the series. And with more fan demand, who knows? Maybe this won't really be the last story.